I recently read an article over at the NewYorkTimes.com about how black leaders are beginning to question Barack Obama's attitudes and policies towards the black community. Barack Obama's response has been that he has to be the president of all of America and not just black America. Now, when I heard that, I was reading this book. It's Plato, it's Socrates, it's The Apology. And there's a quotation in it that like stands out to me because it appears to concern similar issues here. Socrates is speaking to the men of the Athens jury, and he's just informed them that he's not going to make a traditional case. He's not going to parade his family and his children and his relatives out into the courtroom. He's not going to cry and plead for sympathy or anything else like that. And the reason that he's not going to do any of that is the part I'm going to read. He says, "But apart from all question of appearances, gentlemen, I do not think that it is just for a man to appeal to the jury or to get himself acquitted by doing so. He ought to inform them of the facts and convince them by argument. The jury does not sit to dispense justice as a favor, but to decide where justice lies. And the oath which they have sworn is not to show favor at their own discretion, but to return a just and lawful verdict." It seems to me to be a similar issue because when Barack Obama says that pursuing agendas or policies that would help the black community, that he would in fact be doing favors to the black community and not dispensing justice. Racism is an injustice. Racism in America is an injustice that has been ignored for far too long. For someone who's being called a black president to say that addressing the issues of racism would be being the president of black America and not all of America is to tacitly agree with whites that racism isn't an injustice and it isn't even a real issue, but the product of the imaginations of blacks. Barack Obama is proving that white America has been right all along, that blacks don't have any special concerns, situations, or experiences, and that thus whites have been right to ignore all claims of racial injustice. Part of the black American struggle has been trying to get America to see and understand how life is different for blacks under the dark cloud of racism. W.E.B. Du Bois talked about the veil. And there's an entire era and generation of artists and athletes, protesters and marchers who struggle to get white America to see the injustice of racism. If they put a black man into the White House and he says that he doesn't see a need for special legislation, hearings or committees or anything like that, he's saying that white America has been right all along to ignore the claims of racism and injustice. As a would-be philosopher, I call myself a would-be philosopher, one of the things that I maintain is that the American discourse on race is a discourse designed to protect the racist and racism from scrutiny, from consequences, and so forth. The idea that when a black assumes public office, he must become a raceless, cultureless, and classless generic being is an idea that stems from the discourse designed to protect racists and racism. When the Republicans take office, they don't become classless beings. And because white American mainstream culture is their culture, when white politicians take office, they don't become cultureless beings. Why is it that when a black assumes office, he has to become a raceless, classless, cultureless, generic being pursuing a generic agenda?